The Uniparty is trying to do everything that they can to stop my candidacy, to rig the election in Colorado.
That's how she feels. Everybody's against her, or maybe just certain people. You just watched Representative Lauren Boebert complaining that the Uniparty is rigging an election against her. Why? Why would they do that? Well, she believes Representative Ken Buck's early resignation was specifically designed to confuse voters in Colorado's 4th District, where Boebert is running for re-election. So let's take you through it. Bear with us as we explain why she's just so mad. Buck announced that he would not be running for re-election last year, so we knew that. Boebert, who currently represents Colorado's 3rd District, announced she would be swapping districts to fill Buck's seat in the 4th District. That's because her opponent in the 3rd District had a good shot at beating her. Now, she barely won re-election in 2022. Remember all the reporting on that? She did it by less than 600 votes. However, Buck just announced he will be retiring early, specifically at the end of next week. So not much notice there. And that triggers a separate special election to determine who will fill Buck's seat for the remainder of this congressional session. So here's Boebert's problem. Colorado's governor scheduled the special election to take place June 25th. That is the same day as the primary election. In order to run in the special election to replace him, Boebert would be forced to also resign her seat, cutting the Republicans' razor-thin majority to just 4 votes. Forbes with the reporting here. That's why Boebert has already announced she will not be running for the special election. Here's what she told The Hill. I'm not leaving my constituents in the 3rd District. Profound. If she won the special election, she would become the temporary representative of the 4th District and would no longer be able to represent the 3rd District. Are you keeping up? A lot of math going on here. That would also trigger a special election in the 3rd to fill her spot, but Boebert's decision to stay out of the special election is confusing for voters because they would have to vote for Boebert in the primary, but also pick a different candidate for the special election. So it's simpler for voters to just pick a candidate for both the special and the primary election. And that way the candidate could represent the 4th District for the remainder of this congressional session. And assuming they win, primary election continues into next session. So Boebert's opponents aren't in Congress, so they can just run for the special election and the regular election. This is why she feels like, they're cut off at the knees. According to a poll from last month, Boebert is favored in the 4th District, but this new development could shake up that race. 32% of people polled say they plan to vote for Lauren Boebert. 49% indicated they are undecided, and 19% chose from the 9 other candidates running. Roughly 30% of voters polled say they think Boebert has good character and judgment. 45% answered on the contrary. Additionally, 46% of voters say they would not consider supporting someone who just moved to the district, while just 22% said they would. So there's a lot. I don't know if people can keep up with it. I was reading it and I don't know if I kept up with it, but she feels like she's at a wild disadvantage. She's being targeted by fellow Republicans who don't necessarily, want to sport the red hat anymore. Is there some truth to it? Can a lot of things be true about Lauren Boebert? Her grievances here, perhaps they are as significant as they are. Perhaps they're valid.
Yeah, they're half true. You could even argue 2/3 true. So let me explain. So number one, she's right about the election. She's kind of screwed. I don't think it's determinative. As determinative as she thinks it is. She could just run for the regular seat, lose, not run for the special election, have someone else win that and serve that term out. I get that it makes it harder for her to win the general election. Well, that's called life in the big city. So it is what it is. That's politics, baby. And she's also right that Ken Buck is screwing her. And I don't mean in a Beetlejuice kind of way, I mean in an unpleasant way. But the part, of course, she's wrong about is this whole thing of like, the Uniparty is out to get me. No, Ken Buck is a strange character, but he's very right-wing. He voted against Kevin McCarthy. He's one of the folks who did that. So I don't know that he's part of the Uniparty. I don't know what he's part of. But look, I can relate to this because I give out a lot of crap and I take a lot of crap, but I understand that that's part of the game. People like Lauren Boebert, they give out a lot of crap, but when any of it comes back to them, they're like, oh, I can't believe it, right? So you attacked fellow Republicans, and I actually kind of respect you for doing that in some of the occasions, a lot of times. So when a fellow Republican then screws you over because you weren't great to them, that's kind of how it goes. So there's no crying in politics. Although there's actually a ton of crying in politics, but still, I don't agree with her. Anyway, Waz, go ahead.
Yeah, it feels like hers is the grievance of having to run a campaign, having to be semi-competitive in a freaking seat in the US Congress, like the United States of America. This woman thinks she should have to run unopposed or in the safest district in the history of life in order to win. That's what it just feels like, that she's anti-competition, because the real messaging wouldn't be, by the way, the Uniparty, which I'm guessing is a new word for the corrupt duopoly or whatever. The response to this wouldn't be that. It'd be like, whoever they run, I'm gonna kick their butts because the voters are gonna realize that I'm the person that has their best interests at heart. I think she kind of tells on herself by doing this, this pity party for herself.
Yeah, where's the Boebert who flip people off, cuss people out, vaped in the theater, is involved in domestic situations? That Boebert. Now it's like, I'm so privileged, right? I'm so privileged. How dare you mess up my clear path to this seat that I just want to park it in? Really?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. But on the other hand, guys, that kind of makes sense in the Republican Party, because the leader of the Republican Party is Donald Trump, and he does the same exact thing. He wildly attacks everyone else, pretends to be a tough guy, and then the minute that anyone tweaks him, he starts crying his eyes out. He's like the biggest baby in America. I'm the victim. I'm such a victim, right? So that's the same thing Lauren Boebert's doing. And apparently, by the way, I mean, to be fair to them, apparently Republican voters kind of love that. Because they feel like they're special victims. They're like, oh my God, we used to have all of the power. Now we have to share power equally and with justice. So maybe they like what Boebert's saying.
Was any final thoughts?
I find all of these Republican squabbles to be quite funny, and mostly because of what Cenk said. Like, Boebert has actually attacked people in her party in a way that I find even slightly, admirable, even if it's mostly self-serving. Because Democrats, man, anytime a progressive even steps a pinky toe out of line, they bring the hammer down and kill those people. They get murdered for stepping out of line, even a little bit. The way Matt Gaetz is able to come out and just get freaking speakerships thrown out. Matt freaking Gaetz, a nothing, a nobody with no constituency, can do that. Like, and anytime progressives even kind of voice a different opinion from the corporate sort of establishment power within the Democratic Party, they get hit with the sledgehammer. You got AOC like doing votes for Israel domes and all of that. I think it's cool that they do that every now and again on the other side.
Yeah, no, again, totally just tripling down on what Waz said. I like that they have the score. I've said that many, many times, that they're willing to challenge one another. I wish the Democrats would be a little bit more freewheeling and certainly challenge what folks would call the Uniparty, et cetera. But at the same time, don't get it twisted. She's totally self-serving, does it for her own sake. That's why, since she's been doing it to advance her own career at the expense of other Republicans and Democrats, et cetera, that's why I'm saying, now you don't get to cry when someone does something else back to you. That's how it works.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.